The breakdown of that lawsuit.
It's a national problem that's affecting kids everywhere.
A lawsuit against the city and Hartford Public Schools claims months of bullying caused a third grader at Noah Webster Micro Society Magnet School long-term emotional and physical damage. According to the lawsuit, the bullying back in 2021 consisted of hitting, punching, name-calling, and psychological abuse. The student was allegedly cornered in a bathroom and hit. He was yelled at in the halls and pushed and fell into rocks. The lawsuit says it was reported to teachers and the principal, and despite a Connecticut statute that requires action be taken, no action was taken, and parents were allegedly not notified.
The law itself is pretty clear that as soon as this comes to the attention of any employee in the school system, they really need to report it. There needs to be a person in the school system that investigates it.
The suit states now the child has not only had suicidal ideation, but anxiety and permanent injuries. In a statement from Hartford Public Schools, they say, quote, "We can't comment on pending litigation and ongoing investigations. The district takes matters related to bullying and student safety very seriously and always adheres to appropriate policies and procedures." Eliza Krasinski, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.